In the Himalayas, where the world's highest peaks stand as silent witnesses to history, the border between India and China has long been a source of tension, uncertainty, and even conflict. But now, a historic shift is unfolding, one that could alter the course of Asian geopolitics. Today, January 18, 2026, China has accepted India's proposal for a new border agreement in the Sikkim sector, marking a rare moment of consensus after decades of deadlock. This breakthrough could redefine relations between the world's two most populous nations, opening the door to new possibilities and reshaping global dynamics in ways few could have predicted. The agreement is more than just redrawing lines on a map. It's a chance to move beyond decades of confrontation, suspicion, and military standoffs. The Sikkim sector, considered the easiest to settle due to its relatively clear demarcations, is now a test of both nations' intentions, diplomatic resolve, and willingness to build trust. For the world, de-escalation between two nuclear powers is a rare glimmer of hope, a sign that dialogue can triumph over rivalry, even in the most challenging circumstances. For India and China, it could unlock vast economic potential, boost cross-border trade, and shift regional alliances, impacting millions of lives on both sides. This moment is the result of years of negotiation, strategic maneuvering, and a dramatic policy reversal that few thought possible just a few years ago. The path here included tense standoffs like Doklam in 2017, persistent mistrust, and a series of near crises that threatened to spiral out of control. To understand this turning point, we must explore the history, the failed proposals, the behind-the-scenes diplomacy, and the global pressures that made this deal possible. Let's examine what this agreement means for the region, for the people living along the border, and for the future of international politics. To truly grasp today's agreement, we must journey back to the era when empires shaped the destinies of entire regions. The lines on the map that define the Sikkim border today were not drawn by local hands, but by colonial powers negotiating far from the mountains they divided. The Sikkim sector was formally defined by the 1890 Convention of Calcutta, an agreement between British India and the Qing dynasty. This made it the most clearly demarcated, and for a time, the most stable part of the long and often disputed India-China border. After independence, India chose to honor these colonial-era treaties, seeing them as the legal foundation for its borders. However, China viewed these agreements as relics of imperialism, unjust impositions that ignored local realities and Chinese interests. This fundamental disagreement fueled decades of mistrust and tension, erupting most violently in the 1962 border war, a conflict that left deep scars and shaped the security calculus of both nations for generations. Sikkim's own story adds another layer of complexity. Once a Himalayan kingdom and later a protectorate under India, Sikkim became the country's 22nd state in 1975 after a popular referendum. Yet, China refused to recognize this change for nearly 3 decades, only formally acknowledging Sikkim as part of India in 2003. This mutual recognition was seen as a breakthrough, seemingly paving the way for a final and peaceful settlement in the Sikkim sector, and raising hopes for broader stability along the border. Yet, the border's proximity to the Siliguri corridor, a narrow strategic strip connecting mainland India to its northeastern states, kept tensions simmering. This corridor, often called the Chicken's Neck, is vital for India's connectivity and security. Any Chinese advance in this area could threaten this crucial artery, raising the stakes for both sides and making the region a focal point for military planning and diplomatic maneuvering. Thus, even the so-called settled Sikkim border has become a flashpoint, especially near the tri-junction with Bhutan, where the interests of 3 countries collide in a rugged remote landscape. The region's tangled history and dramatic geography have ensured that Sikkim remains a persistent source of anxiety and strategic calculation for both India and China, echoing the legacies of empire and conflict to this day. Tensions erupted in 2017 at Doklam, where Sikkim, Bhutan, and Tibet meet. China began building a road in the disputed Doklam Plateau, prompting India to intervene on Bhutan's behalf. For 73 days, troops from both sides faced off, bringing the region to the brink. India saw the road as a direct threat to the Siliguri corridor. China viewed India's intervention as an affront to its sovereignty. The standoff ended through quiet diplomacy, but it shattered the illusion of Sikkim's stability. Doklam exposed the fragility of border management and the unresolved tri-junction issue. Both nations recognized the need for better communication, but underlying disputes persisted. China continued building infrastructure. India strengthened its defenses. Doklam proved that even settled borders could ignite at any moment. Without a formal settlement, the risk of future crises remains high. The lessons of Doklam set the stage for today's agreement. In the wake of Doklam, China pushed its early harvest proposal. Settle Sikkim first, leave tougher disputes for later. On paper, it seemed pragmatic. Resolve the least contentious sector, build trust, and move forward. China argued both sides already agreed on Sikkim's alignment, so formalizing it would be easy and confidence-building. India, however, saw a trap. Accepting a piecemeal deal could let China avoid settling the more difficult western and eastern sectors. Indian policy insisted on a comprehensive package, all sectors resolved together, or none at all. There were fears that a separate Sikkim deal could legitimize China's claims near Doklam and threaten the Siliguri corridor. For years, India refused to break the linkage, until now. The stalemate broke in August 2025, when India reversed its long-held stance. India agreed in principle to China's early harvest proposal, forming a joint expert group to draft a Sikkim-specific treaty. This marked a dramatic shift from India's insistence on a package deal. China welcomed the move as pragmatic. India framed it as a strategic re-evaluation, not a concession. The government argued that flexibility on Sikkim could test China's sincerity and build trust for future talks. High-level meetings followed, with diplomats and military officials working rapidly on a new treaty. The draft reaffirmed the watershed boundary principle and set modern protocols for border management. By January 2026, India submitted its finalized proposal. China's swift acceptance has now set the stage for a formal signing, an outcome few thought possible a year ago. India's policy shift was driven by intense external pressures. US tariffs and threats of sanctions over Russian oil strained India's economy. Meanwhile, China leveraged its control over critical exports, rare earths, fertilizers, and infrastructure equipment, to pressure India. Chinese officials hinted that border cooperation could ease these economic strains. The global tech race added another layer. China's launch of the World AI Cooperation Organization, WICO, forced India to reconsider its alliances. By agreeing to the Sikkim deal, India gained leverage in tech diplomacy and some relief from economic pain. The move was a calculated gamble, trade a border concession for economic stability and strategic flexibility. India aimed to secure supply chains, ease tensions, and assert a more independent role in a shifting world order. The Sikkim Agreement is as much about global strategy as it is about geography. The Sikkim Agreement will reverberate far beyond the Himalayas. For border communities, it promises stability, reduced military tension, and new opportunities for trade and tourism. For China, it validates a piecemeal approach to disputes, potentially a model for other regions. The US and its allies may see India's move as a sign of shifting allegiances. Economically, a stable border could unlock new cooperation, redirecting resources from defense to development. Eased Chinese export restrictions would boost Indian agriculture and manufacturing. Joint ventures in energy, infrastructure, and technology could follow. Yet, the deal raises concerns for Bhutan, especially regarding the unresolved Tri-Junction and Doklam. The region's smaller neighbors will be watching closely as India and China redefine the balance of power. Experts remain sharply divided. Some see this as a diplomatic masterstroke that could redefine India's regional standing, while others warn it may be a strategic blunder with lasting consequences. The debate is intense, with analysts weighing the potential for both breakthrough and backlash. Critics caution that settling Sikkim first could mean India surrenders crucial leverage, allowing China to delay or avoid addressing the more contentious disputes in Ladakh and Arunachal Pradesh. They argue this piecemeal approach might weaken India's negotiating position in the long run. There's growing concern that the treaty could tilt the balance in China's favor near the sensitive Doklam Plateau, potentially threatening India's vital access to the Siliguri corridor, a strategic lifeline connecting the northeast to the rest of the country. Some fear that in pursuit of short-term economic relief and improved trade ties, India may have compromised its long-term security interests and border integrity. Supporters, however, point out that the old package deal approach only led to repeated deadlock and heightened confrontation, with little progress over decades of talks. By demonstrating flexibility and a willingness to compromise, India has managed to break the stalemate, shifting the diplomatic burden onto China to respond in kind and take the next step. If mutual trust can be built, The Sikkim Agreement could serve as a foundation for broader de-escalation, opening doors to new economic opportunities and regional stability. A stable and predictable relationship with China is essential for India's economic ambitions, global supply chains, and its role as a rising power in Asia. The move is undeniably risky, but it also presents a rare chance to shift the narrative from open rivalry to a more managed, competitive coexistence. Ultimately, the Sikkim Agreement stands as a bold attempt to reshape the future of Asia, if both sides can build on this momentum and truly follow through on their commitments. The Sikkim Agreement is a landmark, cautious optimism on a frontier long defined by suspicion. It's the biggest diplomatic breakthrough in decades, rooted in history, strategy, and economic necessity. For locals, it offers hope. For the region, both opportunity and risk. Globally, it signals India's independent path between Washington and Beijing. The rewards are real, but so are the risks, especially for Bhutan and India's strategic interests. The true test will be in implementation. Will this be the start of genuine peace, or just a tactical pause? The world will be watching as India and China navigate this new chapter in their complex relationship.